Welcome to Messenger of the Divine. The I Am is present. This is the channel initially. I might be beginning a non-stop story of a memory, something quite significant. This began, first I woke at 2 a.m. with part 1 coming through as a dream. I did not want to get up at 2 a.m. on 3 hours of sleep. So I stayed asleep. And the story continued non-stop until 4:30 a.m. when I checked the clock again. So I got up, and here I am. I hope that we can recapture, because it was a lot, and it was all written down for me in the dreams, continuously. I mean, it was non-stop. It was like, I wish I could I've tried that many times before. It doesn't work. So I'm here to channel it and do the best I can and see what we get. And by the way, the breathing is the key to going in deeper. Practiced, it takes less time. When I started, it took an hour. Right after the awakening in 75. In 94, when I quit a job, feeling the need to reconnect with my spirit, that was the one time for 7 weeks that I did this for 2 hours a day. And then, spontaneously, found myself shifted again. Possibly my 5th initiation, I don't remember for sure. But I wrote 6 books in 6 months, and they came through flawlessly. Through channeling the still small voice within. So I'm just saying this, in case you don't know yet. Most of you probably do. And another, I'll give you just the beginning, a tip. When breathing in, always slowly. When breathing in, ah. And breathing out, A-U-M. After a time when you are ready, you feel the need to move to the next level, I am still. Okay. I may open myself to Jesus for an introduction or just go in. I don't know what's going to happen. That's the best part of doing this job. I never know what I'm going to get. For the moment, this is a non-stop story beginning from the ancient past. Hello, this is the I Am. We are here, represented by Jesus, Sanata, the Divine Council, and Earth's Council of Light. Jesus speaking. I welcome this deep connection through the soul consciousness, accessible through this channel, Charol. I welcome my brothers and sisters of this earth, the Council of Light. I welcome the Divine Council of the Cosmos, which is ascended masters of all worlds, dimensions, and universes, and origins, and archangels, as well as origins and archangels. I will briefly say that this dream is real memory, and together we will attempt to enhance through Carol what has begun. And so she begins. In the memory, I don't know who this is yet. I don't know if it's me. I think I have tapped into something or someone else that's significant in human history. Perhaps it's a story, a parable, but also real. I don't know yet. When I get there, I will tell you. But doing it for 2.5 hours non-stop tells me there's something important to be said. This is the I Am with Carol, and Carol through Carol, which is the divine consciousness, tapping into the Akashic records of the ancient past, aided by her soul council, which includes archangels, Master Dwakul, Ascended Master Jesus, Sananda. Let it be said that the Soul Council began as 7 Today it is 22. The more you commit, the more you are devoted, the more you are in the service, the more your soul council grows to support that work and guide you. All right, it begins. In this memory female, this earth's ancient past, coming out of the origin time of this planet and the first humans, 500,000 years. After, seated here by the Pleiades, the Orions, the Sirius, the Andromedas, a total of 12 houses of the origins on this world. And yet human beings, speaking now as that person for first person story. In the ancient time of this earth, when humans were first beginning, as you see them now, I was a leader. It was a matriarchy. I was on one of the large continents when a single continent of Antarctica, Australia, the northern hemispheres were all one, not yet separate. So that area of the earth, Carol is trying to recall the name of it. It begins with a P. You know what it is. It is true. A single continent, not yet separated. In the far, far north, it's true. There was a land bridge in the North Arctic to the western continent that also runs continuous, as it still does today. But I lived as one of the first leaders on the earth, as a human being, female, a matriarchy. Charol is recalling the name of this continent, Pangea. We're very similar to that. I lived in a warmer climate at the time before there were ice ages, plural, when things flourished, when life flourished in great abundance. And it was like an Eden, the entire continent. I was 5 feet and 3 inches in height, but still looking very much like humans today. Very similar. We were at that time Homo Sapiens. In this luxurious warmer climate, not dissimilar to your modern day New Zealand, with its perfections and without the intrusions of poor weather. The air was pure and pristine. The waters were pure and pristine. The seas and the ocean life were pristine and pure and filled with abundant life forms as well. I had 3 children. My mate was a husband. During the time I speak of, my children were young adults, 18, 19, 20, 1 female, 2 male. You might remember me, some of you. Yes, we were hunter-gatherers. We also fished in the sea, as we were very skillful people, very wise and very smart. And we were fortunate to be able to live in caves. Not New Zealand itself, but the climate as described. We were near the equator, just below it. It was a very warm climate. We had seasons. Sun, nights, days. A beautiful, beautiful, beautiful world. We were happy. When I say leader, we had a very large community. I lived out my days in this community. We did not travel great distances. That came later, but not during my lifetime. I lived to be 200 years old, and as you would call it, by health and aging, I would say, I lived to your age of approximately 70, but in years it was 200. And that was because of the pure air, the pure water, the pure earth. We did sustain ourselves with life forms of the sea, with humility and gratitude. Plants were abundant and provided everything we needed for nutrition. And so we were well and healthy for an average span of 200. Other ages have been recorded in your Bible. Some of this is true, most of it is. During my time in my community, now our community spanned about 1,000 miles in each direction. We did not have during that period what came later, the giant animals or the giant peoples. Our average height was 5'5". But we were savvy and thoughtful, and we worked things out because our survival depended on it. In my general community, although I was the leader, and we came together once a month in the center where I lived for communal gatherings and decision making. Yes, there were occasional disagreements, but we worked things out because our survival depended on it. We did not travel beyond our region during my lifespan. I am not the one you are thinking of as the first human discovered in Africa. I am not that person. I preceded that person. However, we were in a generally well-established, centralized community. We did have runners. We did have fire. We did have the wheel. We did have stamina. When I say my children were 18, 19, 20, during the period I discussed, that is true. So they had very long lives ahead of them. And for many generations, this was true. We are called the Suthies. S. The Suthies. Because we lived on the underside of the equator. So Uthies. But we still, nevertheless, that was the center of our community, where I lived. And so the 1,000 miles in either direction, in each direction. Wait a minute. Carol's working on this. 1,000 miles in each direction. So it's still a great distance, and a great civilization. And yes, we traded. We had, yes, initially, mostly we lived in caves because it was more comfortable. That doesn't mean because, and of course the climate was warm. That doesn't mean there weren't other options available to us, which over time, depending on our climate, we built. Because we were very smart people. We had good brains. We were intellectual, but also spiritual. It is important to have both, or you have nothing. If you do not have spirituality in your life, you wander aimlessly without direction. What does that mean? That means you know the spirit within. That means you know the divine that guides you from the within. That means you learn to understand the world around you and the people around you. And you learn to cooperate because your survival depends on it. You are very aware that the world is much bigger than your land, than your community. And so you take precautions to assure this security. We are the Suthies. All of us are the Suthies. So even in each direction, the climate was still pleasant and nothing extreme. Why a matriarchy? It was obvious in the time that though we were homemakers, we had a natural leadership ability, and we were more inclined to cooperate and to build cooperations, which was better for survival. Getting along is the secret to a sustainable society. Women in leaderships generally, at least in our community, made wise choices for the greater good of the whole. and we all cooperated by necessity and by wisdom. We did take our partners seriously, our male partners, husbands, seriously, and they played an equal part in choices and decisions that affected the whole of us. But they were not the leaders. We led the thinking, the attitudes, the aptitudes, what was for the greater good of the whole. And so, this is how it began. Pangea? I think that's very close, if not exact, Pangea. Because it was a continent of many that you know today. It ran all the way up on the east side to the Arctic and all the way down to the Antarctic as a single land. Yes, here and there would be bridges, land bridges. But for the most part, it was land top to bottom. And then across the north and the south, and a single land top to bottom. This was the way it started out, and then we had ocean between and on each side. Knowing the size of the world, you can imagine that how do I know this? Well, I know this. I know this now, but because that is the truth that I see through the Akashic records. But even though at the time we did not travel, my generation, I did not travel that far. But during my children's lifetime, they went further, north and south, and the discoveries began. Because, 200 years. I stayed where I was because it was better for the community. And I had everything I needed and could want. Love, affection, compassion, caring, pets. We were a good people. We worked things out. We did not struggle for shelter or survival because we helped each other. We had plenty. And routine. You have to have routine when you have a shelter, a home, safety, security, food, and spiritual time, and spiritual prayer, which is the foundation of who you are as a human being. Without it, you do not know who you are. With it, you discover who you are, and this enlarges your perspective of life and possibilities of life, and you more easily tap into your core values, why you're here, how to help each other, and why it matters. I will reference your present day as I had access to it, as I moved on a very long time ago. Yes, approximately 500,000 years. And yes, at the end of that 200 years, I did not reincarnate. I was one of the lucky ones. Because of my spirituality, my gifts with the psychic senses, my gifts with the psychic abilities, my ability to see far and wide and to know and understand, at least by the end of the life, I was able to move on beyond this earth, beyond this world, beyond the physical realm. That is not true of many. I was one of the lucky ones. For now, call me the Sati. You will find my name for you over time. I would say for my community, I was the first leader. Yes, we had many of the animals you have today. Many more, of course, but not the gigantics. Not in my time. So it was a pleasant life. A life when we valued life forms, animal forms. And we largely used the seas for meat because we were all in agreement on survival. And we did not seek to destroy each other out of greed or selfishness. We did not, that was one of the things we agreed on as a community when we would come together for our meetings once a month. We chose not to abuse the privilege of this world, nor to kill the others who were the animals that lived alongside us, each to their own. We had all we needed, and we were healthy, and we never went hungry. No one was hungry. So this is what I give to you, a picture of what was and how the society itself can come to be again in time. Cooperation is the key. Listen to your females. Learn how to work together and learn how to take care of each other. Because there is no need, even in your modern world today, for anyone to be without a home, for anyone to go hungry. There is not a need, even in your world today, to be overrun by cruelty, crime, or violence. This can be sorted out, and you will find a way. I am the Sati. I will speak again with permission. Thank you. This is Jesus, Sananda. I do recall this story when I've read it in the Akashic Records, which happens to be all worlds, all dimensions, but I speak of this earth in particular. I do recall this time, these people, and all of us, not fully in the body at this time in your life, all of us have access to this information. All of us seek and want the best for you. All of us love you, for you are our sisters and brothers eternally. And so it is.